For 11 years, the Africa Eco Race has followed in the footsteps of Thierry Sabine. And even though it has grown every year, it holds on to its traditional rally routes. For the fourth year in a row, the scrutineering took part in Menton in the balmy winter sun. The temporary bivouac by the Mediterranean was the perfect place for the public to come and check out the excitement. For 2 days, they came to see the vehicles and the drivers as they prepared for their superhuman adventure.
C'est vrai que pour nous, c'est extrêmement important.
This is all very important for us.
Nous, c'est pas superficiel, ça on rentre.
Everyone here is very passionate about it.
Sont des vrais passionnés qui ont
They want to do their utmost in the desert.
de se dépasser dans le désert.
I say it every time, but the real star here is the desert.
La vedette, c'est le désert.
The town of Menton on the south coast had pulled out all the stops to welcome the race and these modern-day adventurers. People came from all over to admire the perfectly prepared bikes, cars and trucks. The Monaco-Dakar is of course a rally, but first and foremost it's an epic adventure where the old-school endurance rules apply. This is why once again they have entered in their droves, taking on 2 weeks of surprises, extreme adventure and unforeseen escapades. With a record number of participants this year, the bike category had really taken off and was shaping up to be a tight battle. Amongst the favourites this year was Alessandro Batturi, the former pro rider for Husqvarna and Yamaha. The Italian was keen to get stuck into the African trails. I'm really happy to take part in the Africa Eco Race because it's really in the traditions of the original Paris-Dakar. I'm really proud to be doing this race. He had to, however, look out for the South American Francisco Arredondo and, of course, Paul Anders Olavalseter, winner of the Africa Eco Race in both 2015 and 2016. There was a huge Italian contingent with none other than rally legend Franco Pico leading the charge. In the car category, we found another legend, Kenjiro Shinozuka. The Japanese driver with 21 Dakars under his belt, including a win in 1997, was keen to come back to Africa. At 70 years old, you would be forgiven for thinking his career was coming to an end, but it appears not.
I was thinking, so what rally is better for me? Then I'm not too interested about South America. I must learn Africa. Watching something, then I know the Jean-Louis do the African Eco Race, this race. Oh, okay, I participate in this race.
Shinozuka was pitting himself against his old friend Jean-Pierre Strugo. The Frenchman was here for the second time and was one of the favourites alongside Dominique Ouzio, another rally veteran. At the wheel of their respective Optimus buggies, these two old friends had their hands full, taking on experienced drivers Yves Froment and Patrick Martin. With good numbers in the car and bike categories, the SSVs also turned out in droves, and at the wheel this year, last year's bike winner, Paolo Cecchi. I wanted to do something new with my wife, Sara, who has followed me for so many years. We couldn't do it on a bike. As I won on the bike last year, I wanted something different and to see how I rate against other drivers. The Italian was up against Philippe Pinchedes, current French endurance champion, and Jean-Hugues Monéron, who was here defending his title. Lastly, we come to the real stars of this rally, the big desert beasts, the trucks. This year, the field was wide open and there was everything to play for. Portuguese sports star Elizabeth Jacinto was trying to forget last year's early departure from the race. With the last 2 years' early dropouts, I am really happy to be here. The team is really enthusiastic. I hope that this year it will go well. We have changed the suspension and we hope to be able to drive faster and have fewer mechanicals. The goal is to arrive in Dakar. But she would have to be vigilant because once again, solo at the wheel of his Tatra, the 3-time winner Thomas Tomacek knew this terrain extremely well, as did the veteran Belgian driver Noel Essers. We spend a lot of time talking about the race, but let's not forget what is at the heart of this challenge, the humanitarian aspect. Once again this year, the organisers have joined forces with AMAD, Association Mondiale des Amis de l'Enfance, that works tirelessly for the protection of children, something that was really important to Adriana, race patron for the second time. who was keen to buy one of their solar lamps. I'm pleased because this is not a selfish rally. It's a rally that has a great human interest. They don't just cross these countries without thought. They're also interested in the local populations. It may just be a series of small gestures, but they are important. For the second time in 3 years, Adriana stood with Jean-Louis Schlesser in Monaco and officially started the race from Quai Antoine I. The former model was excited to be there, once more supporting the race and its humanitarian values. The values of comradeship, the solidarity, the sharing and the sportsmanship. They're looking for the adrenaline rush. I get that. I've done rallies before, but not like this. I love the atmosphere. The first day is even more special. I was looking at footage of the previous rallies and it gave me goosebumps. It really makes me want to go with them. Once under the arch, they were finally off. Months of preparation and all that remained between them and the desert were 378 kilometres to the port of Sète and a 36-hour ferry ride to Nador in Morocco. As always, Jean-Louis Schlesser gave the traditional first briefing on board at 11 a.m. If any competitor finds anyone else stopped, or a biker, especially the bikers who have a problem, if they have fallen, unconscious, have a problem, you have to press their Iritrac to make sure someone comes to help them. And this time spent helping will be given back to you. It is the most important thing for us, your safety. And by his side, another rally legend and the Africa Eco Race sport director, René Metsch. A 3-time Dakar winner, he had laid out for the competitors a rally steeped in tradition and chock full of sand. Lots of navigation. Every day it will change how the stages are won. Some will try to find shortcuts. Some will find them, others won't. They'll go round in circles before finding them. That's what will make the difference. It's going to be great. There we have it, the plan for the 45 bikes, 25 cars, 11 SSVs and 10 trucks in their quest to reach Dakar in 6,055 kilometres, 4,022 kilometres of time stages and 2 weeks of high adventure. After a relatively quiet New Year's Eve on board, the 1st of January dawned bright and clear as the convoy disembarked onto African soil. The Moroccan hospitality did not disappoint. The traditional breakfast laid down by the governor of Nador really is a sight for sore eyes and the perfect welcome to Africa. The teams were itching to get going for their 2-week journey across 3 countries, Morocco, Mauritania and Senegal. 3 words sum up this experience: simplicity, friendship and authenticity. More than ever, René Metsch and Jean-Louis Schlesser felt the spirit of Thierry Sabine guiding them. Time to get this adventure started. As we well know, the Africa Eco Race participants are a generous lot. Julie Vanken has a very personal reason for doing this rally. I am supporting a cause that has been very close to my heart for the last 4 years, multiple sclerosis. It's a disease that has affected my family directly. I always say that if you can move, you should, even if you have some small injuries, even if it seems complicated and challenging. Optimism is vital, especially when things are going wrong. And if you can, then get moving and get behind a cause like this. Julie finished the rally in 30th place. 9 places behind this man who dreamt of camaraderie, adventure and pushing himself beyond his limits. Zhao Jingzhu found it all on the Africa Eco Race. Coming from Shanghai in China, he travelled halfway around the world for this adventure and to make his dreams a reality. I am sending a lot of photos back home and people are really excited about it. Very envious and realizing this is how Africa looks. This is how a rally works, so there are a lot of people who want to join next year. This rider was here for the first time in 2018 and it looks like he got the bug.
和我们一起来参加这场比赛。
A veritable rally raid legend, Franco Pico was 10th last year and at 63 years old he came back to pursue his passion once more. Never say die for Pico, who once again finished in the top 10 in 10th place. 1 hour and 10 minutes behind the fearless Slovak veteran Jan Zatko, also 63. 6th 3 years ago, 4th 2 years ago and 9th last year, he finished once more in the top 10 in 9th place. The next place rider was far ahead. Philippe Cavelius, the French dental technician, was consistent throughout, with 9 top 10 places during the race. A fantastic performance that saw him finish in 8th place overall. We can't talk about consistency without mentioning Domenico Cipollone. The Italian finished 8 stages in the top 10, including the one where he had a huge fall and lost a lot of time. He lost his fairing and hurt his ribs, but finished the day 7th, which is exactly where he finished overall. Despite being plagued by mechanical worries towards the end of the rally, Patrice Carillon managed his race perfectly. He finished as first Frenchman, first Malmoto and 6th overall on arrival at Lac Rose. Having 12 Dakars under his belt, Carillon, who finished 2nd in the 9th stage, was here in his first Africa Eco race. He was all on his own with no mechanic and no assistance. He was one of the Malmoto riders.
Alors les Malmotos, bien entendu, on vient sans mécano.
The Malmotos come without a mechanic. We do the race completely alone. And in the evening we're on our own too. No help from a mechanic. We can help each other, of course, but we're all about adventuring 100% solo. It's a return to rally roots when we do Malmoto. During the 2 weeks of racing, the Africa Eco Race caravan went through Chinguetti, home to 5,000 people. World Heritage Site, cultural capital of Mauritania, 7th holy city of Islam, a veritable jewel in the desert. For 2 weeks, this man was all smiles. Francisco Arredondo of Guatemala was here for the first time. This Dakar veteran loves to ride in Africa and even managed to win the 10th stage. The victory meant a great deal to him and his African debut saw him finish 5th. Just behind Felix Jensen, who was here in his 2nd Africa Eco race. After a big fall in Morocco last year, he felt strong this year, especially in Mauritania. He even managed to win his first ever stage on day 9. A great result for Olav Alsiter's protégé, who finished 4th overall. Only 17 minutes behind Simone Agazzi, the Italian with a big smile and a great sense of humour. His goal right from the start in Monaco was to be in the top 3. Mission accomplished for the Honda rider, who finished his 2nd Africa Eco race in 3rd place and even won stage number 7. This man was hoping for a 3rd victory in Dakar, but for this year, Paul Anders Olav Alsiter would have to be content with 2nd place, only a matter of minutes behind the winner, 4 minutes and 54 seconds to be exact. He lost 6 minutes to Alessandro Botturi on the first day and never managed to scrape them back. And so the Italian Alessandro Botturi won the 2019 Africa Eco race, a worthy successor to Paolo Cecchi's crown. In his first outing in the race, the former Husqvarna and Yamaha Pro won 4 stages. The Mauritanian sands didn't pose too many problems and he paced himself perfectly throughout. Congratulations to everyone. I am delighted to have won because I really wanted it. It has been a dream. Again, I would like to dedicate the win to my mum, who died a few months ago. Also to my friends who died racing and who would have loved to see this, but sadly they are no longer here. I dedicate it to them because they are always with me, especially my mechanic Domenico.
il Domenico che mi ha sempre fatto anche da meccanico e tutto.
After 6,000 kilometers of racing, the final general classification looks like this. Bachuri wins his first ever Africa Eco Race only 4 minutes and 54 seconds ahead of Olav Alsiter. Agazzi was third, 3 different bike brands on the podium. Jensen, Arredondo and Carrion make up the top 6. Every one of the two-wheeled warriors pushed themselves to the absolute limit. They all emerged from the epic battle completely transformed. Let's have a look. We all know that the Africa Eco Race has a humanitarian side. Once more this year, the organisers and the teams financed solar lamps made in Africa. This initiative came from AMAD, l'Association Mondiale des Amis de l'Enfance. Anthony Schlesser was on hand to hand out the lamps in 5 rural schools. We're in the region of Attar. We distribute these lamps in these rural villages that have no power. This allows the children to have light, which helps them both to study and revise in the evening, and to get home when the sun has gone down. It's also a light the whole family can use. On to the SSVs, the light, fun little buggies that are so great to drive in the sand and over the dunes. The rally started badly for Philippe Pinchadez. The current French endurance champion started a little too enthusiastically and, with heavy heart, had to abandon 8 kilometres from the finish of the first stage. No abandon, but plenty of problems for Paolo Cecchi. With his wife Sarah as co-pilot, he had no end of trouble. They did, however, make it to Lac Rose, coming 9th in their category. This man also made it to Lac Rose, a familiar sight for the Franco-Senegalese driver. However, it wasn't the winning finish he had last year. Jean-Hugues Monneron had a more complicated race this year despite his first stage victory. But he still made it home 8th at the wheel of his Can-Am. Jean-Claude Ruffier also made it home. At nearly 80 years old, he's the rally's oldest competitor and still gives it his all, and his eternal youth is impressive. How does he cope physically with the constant bouncing around and the insane heat? He'd tell you it was passion. Passion that took him into 32nd place overall and 7th in the category. Here is the story of a proper adventurer. A man who is as hard as nails but with a heart of gold. He wanted to do the rally in the toughest of conditions. This is a man that would have made Thierry Sabine proud.
I just wanted to see if I can do everything in the spirit of Dakar. Just to be by yourself, to help the other competitors, which I did a lot. I helped a few competitors, including Mr. Shinozuka. I stayed with him almost for 3 hours because he was the last one and I didn't want to let him by himself. My Polaris broke because I broke the belt. His car is too heavy for our Polaris, but once I did it, second time and third time with no success, unfortunately, but at least I stayed with them and helped a lot with the sand. Unfortunately, 2 days ago, yes, I have to be tracked by the sweeper, and I arrived at 5 o'clock in the morning. Immediately started to change all my transmission, my belt, my clutch, my variator, and I was succeed to start in time. But last stage, yesterday, when I arrived, I had like 62 hours of absolutely no sleeping. So 62 hours of no sleeping. But now I'm fresh. I have 5 hours. I wake up in the morning and started again to do the cleaning of the fuel tank. It was great. I have time to discover myself again. For me, I wasn't competing with all the other competitors. I was competing only with myself, and I hope that today and tomorrow to stay calm, not to force everything, and just to be. Just to succeed to finish the race is the most important, but any day was for me like a victory.
Claudio Barbu finished overall in an emotional 30th place, pretty far behind the Polaris of Alain Biard. At the end of this emotionally charged event, he finished in the top 20. Throughout the rally, he kept the spirit of Thierry Sabine with him, hoping to inspire people at home. Mission accomplished for number 258. Sadly, it's not enough to win 5 stages in 2 weeks. The 2 stages where this man finished far behind the leaders cost him dearly. Jean-Luc Pisson-Cicaldi had a great race and can be very proud of his 15th place in the GC and 4th SSV. Behind the Fretin brothers, They raced here 2 years ago and they loved it. They took part in the Turkmen Desert Race but decided to come back to Africa for more desert adventures, and what a race they had. Benoit finished 13th overall and 3rd in the T3 category. Only 15 minutes behind his brother Bruno, who pulled off a real coup in the 8th stage when he came home 3rd. So incredible and so well deserved after a race that was often plagued by problems. He finished 12th overall and 2nd SSV. But the best of the best was Rudy Roxalan. He has blasted round all the European circuits but was after a mightier, more international victory. And so it was that the man from Lyon took Jean-Hugues Monéran's crown as winner of the SSV category. It has been a long time coming.
C'est ça, ça fait 40 ans que j'ai envie de venir en lacrosse et on arrive les premiers quand on s'attendait pas à ça, c'est magnifique,
We
c'est
didn't
génial.
expect that.
Ça me rappelle
It's
toutes les émissions que j'ai
magic.
regardées
It
quand
reminds
j'étais
me of
gamin,
the
les frères
programs I used to
Marot,
watch when I was a
René
kid.
tous ces
The
gars-là.
Marot
Et
brothers,
on est
René
arrivé à
Mech,
bloc
and now
sur
we're
la route, il y avait
actually
tous les
here.
supporters,
There were
il y a-
so many
c'est génial
supporters.
parce que,
It's
enfin,
great.
je réalise
It
pas
doesn't
encore,
seem
on
real
va
yet.
digérer ça
It will take a
tranquillement, mais
while
c'est
to
génial,
sink in.
6 mois de
We'll get
préparation,
there.
là, toute
6
une
months
équipe,
of work, a
et,
whole team.
ça paye, c'est
It's
super.
paid off and it's perfect. In the SSVGC, Rudy Roxalan stayed consistent to take the win ahead of Bruno and Benoit Fretin. Following them, Jean-Luc Pisson-Cicaldi, Alain Biard and the solo driver Claudio Barbu. Their goal was simple, to get to Dakar in their SSVs. This category goes from strength to strength, and here is how it played out over the 2 weeks. In the car category, one man dominated the first week. Dominique Laure won the first 4 time stages, and 4 stages in 4 days put him right at the top of the leaderboard, with all to play for in the coming days.
Aucune angoisse parce que tu te
No worries
souviendras
there.
que l'année passée, on a
If you
gagné
remember, last year we
l'étape
won the
10 qui était
10th
la plus
stage,
dure
which
du
was the
sable.
hardest in the sand.
À s'est passé,
That gave us enormous confidence.
Cette fameuse étape.
When we had 28 kilometers of dunes the other day, it was great.
28 km de dunes. Ça s'est passé,
A really good rhythm, no
tout
stress.
cool, un rythme nickel.
We didn't hesitate
Aucune
for a minute.
angoisse,
We
il y a
just
pas eu
battered
vraiment
straight
d'envie
through.
de reculer, tout a été dans le bon sens, dans le cap. Voilà.
However, one driver was able to challenge the winning streak of Dominique Laure. The Russian driver Sergei Kuprianov, with his brother as co-pilot, is usually at the wheel of a KAMAZ truck. This year they decided to try their hand at buggy racing. They picked it up pretty quickly and crossed the line in first place on stage 5. The victory took a while to sink in.
Было уже быстро.
This is great news for my brother and me. It's great. And I'm really pleased. It's the first time I've driven a buggy. And it's my first stage victory. It's really incredible. I can't get over it. The two drivers were in sparkling form just before the end of stage 7, but then they collided in a spectacular fashion. Horrifying to watch, but fortunately no one was injured. Dominique Laure and Sergei Kuprianov crashed just before the timing vehicles at the finish line. The following moments were agonising, but very quickly all four men climbed out of their Optimus buggies, the most human damage being a sore knee for Dominique Laure. I'm relieved because Dominique and I are in one piece. The others too, we have to remember them too. They're also in one piece. We didn't really understand. We were belting along. We saw the finish line from far away. We had the right line. They were really far off to the right. They wanted to steer towards us. I turned my head. I saw they were going to hit us. He hit our rear wheel and we just spun and spun. So did they. Sadly, despite actually winning the stage, Dominique Laure's car was a total write-off and he had to abandon the race. Also abandoning, albeit a little earlier, was one of the race favourites, Dominique Ouzio. At the wheel of his Optimus, the Frenchman was belting along during stage 4, leading the charge after 380 kilometres of timed stage when he came a cropper. 4 full rolls later, the team was only bruised, but the car was a write-off and the race was over for them. As we know, the Africa Eco Race is a human adventure, one for people with a passion. Alexei Titov proved that this year by making this an unforgettable edition. He chose the start line in Monaco to propose to his girlfriend Ekaterina. She said yes, and he went on to finish 16th overall and to win the T2 category. Congrats to everyone. Also in the T2 category was the legendary Kenjiro Shinozuka. The Japanese driver had been planning for a year and came to Africa to bring humanitarian aid to a school bearing his name in Dakar. It's a project that means a huge amount to him, as did his 34th place in the GC and the 2nd place T2. This is an extraordinary race. It takes everyone to the starting gates of adventure, but it's up to the competitors to open those gates and charge through. Once again, we find some genuine adventurers living the Thierry Sabine dream. We are amateurs, we take it one day at a time, and we hope to make it to the end. We are 100% amateurs. Andre built the car in his garage. A manufacturer built the chassis, but all the prep and the build was him. The maintenance is done by our friends, so more amateur than us would be hard to find. Andre and Francois arrived at Lac Rose in 26th place. A few minutes before the charming Scots Andrew Wicklow and William Frayne Bell at the wheel of their much admired bowler. Even René Metch was a fan. They ended up 2nd in the open category. That category was won by Gérald Monnier, who also made it into the top 10 in the GC in 8th place. A tremendous performance for this Africa race regular, who even managed to bring his Peugeot home 5th on stage 7. Patrick Martin brought his Tarek home 2nd 3 times during the fortnight. The Frenchman loves the African terrain, had a great, consistent race and finished up in Dakar in 6th place in the GC and the 5th T1. For the 5th year in a row, rest day on the Africa Eco Race was in Dakhla on the Atlantic coast. Mild temperatures and warm sunshine welcomed the teams as they took a well-earned break. It's a day that allows the crews to sort out any mechanical issues, to stretch out any physical kinks and prepare for week 2. Here's how rest day goes on the Africa Eco Race. This man rolled up his sleeves and gave it his all. Yves Froment, the lawyer from Lyon, and his co-pilot Paul Vidal love the challenge that this race presents. The Frenchman is a big fan of Africa, even riding bikes with Thierry Sabine in the 80s. He made it to Dakar in 4th place, just out of the podium. Only 20 minutes behind Jean-Noël Julien, the baker from Paris certainly raised his game this year in his Optimus alongside his wife and co-pilot Rabat. Pure harmony for these enthusiasts in their third Africa race together. They even managed to win the stage on day 11. They romped home third.
Bravo.
This Optimus was second. With 3 stage wins to their name, David Gerard and Pascal Delacour drove a consistent race as part of the solid MD Rally team. Great fun, friendship and generosity of spirit were the watchwords for this team, who quite simply had a cracking fortnight in the desert. But this year, experience won the day. This man has competed the world over and actually retired 3 years ago. But he hadn't counted on his love of the sport, which was too strong to resist. Jean-Pierre Strugo, alongside François Brossotto, made a comeback in an Optimus. A winning choice. Such a joy to be here. It's not really the 22 kilometres, but the first place. It's the icing on the cake for a great rally, a consistent rally with a good team. And then it's due to 20, 25, 28 years in Rally Raid. My favourite memories are the race itself when we placed highly, the second stage where we were second and the others took ages to arrive, not having any particular troubles throughout. My overall impression is of a great atmosphere on all levels. In the final GC, 3 Optimus buggies mounted the podium, Jean-Pierre Strugo ahead of David Gerard and Mr. and Mrs. Julien. The 2 Tarecs of Yves Fromont and Patrick Martin make up the top 5. Drive and motivation burned strong in the hearts of all the car crews. A searing, all-consuming desire kept man and machine going in order to reach the mythical Lac Rose by whatever means necessary. Here is their journey. What if we told you that the Africa Eco Race had its own driving school? Would you believe us? Well, it does, kind of. Every year about 10 vehicles take part in the raid, sometimes before taking on the real thing. I'm a former member of the organisation in the Africa Eco Race, and I think this is a great school to learn the ropes. I say it to everyone, come and do the raid on the Africa Eco Race. It will allow you to discover the country. You can learn a bit about the competition, and then you can take part either on a bike or in a car. It's a great entry-level experience to come and do the course without any of the constraints of the race. On the Africa Eco Race, one man lives the rally like no one else. He spends every day in a helicopter. He is wholly relied upon by the competitors and he looks after them, and nothing escapes him. René Metsch is a sport director like no other. We wanted to know what a day in his rally life looked like. In general, a day with me is not easy because at 7 or 8 a.m. everyone must be suited and booted and in the helicopter. My job is to watch over the flock, to sense, especially with the bikers, when there's a bit of tension or people are nervous. There can be falls, that's what we fear, falls. So we try to foresee it. It's hard to explain it, it's a feeling I get, not easy to explain. And the rest of the time we do medical cover and check where everyone is. Yesterday we were all over the place trying to find vehicles that were lost. We're a bit like the St. Bernards of the rally. Yes, I like that. That's a good image. I still have a great passion for this. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here doing what I do. I have a great love for this country that has welcomed me for over 40 years. I know it well. It's irreplaceable. For rally raids, Africa is an irreplaceable continent. What I love about rally raids is the unknown. When they leave in the morning, they have their road book and that's it. That's all they have. After that, they have to find the rest. So they have to learn that it is more rolling the higher they are in altitude and less rolling down low. These are things you learn as you go, if you realise you have to learn at all. Because there are some that have been doing this for 10 years or so and have learned nothing. Understanding how to read the terrain is important. Finally, we come to the ever-evocative trucks and their drivers who we all admire so much. Just getting to Dakar is an achievement in itself. One that Mikhail Shkailev realised. We saw the Russian in Turkmenistan last year and he finished the last Silkway as 7th truck, and in this Africa race he ended up 8th and 25th in the GC. 3 places behind his teammate from Gaz Raid Sport, who we also saw thundering through the Turkmen Desert Race and the last Silkway. Boleslav Levitsky has masses of potential. The Russian drove his Gaz all the way to Lac Rose in 22nd place, 7th in the T4 category, having placed 7th in stage 10. Igor Bowens drives probably the fastest of these desert beasts, but he had a few problems during the rally. He had 4 truck stage victories, twice even coming in 2nd overall. The 8th, 10th and 11th stages cost him dearly, but he still finished in the top 20 in 19th place. Last year, this man took on the Africa Eco Race all on his own. Once more this year, solo at the wheel of his monstrous Tatra is Tomasz Tomaszek, former 3-time winner. The Czech, nicknamed Captain Solo, chose to take on this challenge without a navigator or a mechanic.
My work is I'm working alone in garage, and I like to be alone, to be kind. You know? I'm not so communicative person, you know, and I'm happy. I'm happy that I'm alone in this moment.
Problems in Morocco cost him the win, but he still finished 17th. In the Netherlands, racing trucks are a big thing. Back in the Africa Eco Race since last year, the Dutch teams brought their long tradition of truck driving and their desire for the real Africa. There were 3 of them on the Monaco-Dakar this year, attempting to match Gerard de Rooy's magnificent results from last year. 2 of them reached Lac Rose. Ad van Velsen and his Ginaf finished 14th overall and 4th in the category. Johan Elfrink even got his Mercedes into the top 10 in 10th place. There are always major personalities on every rally. On this Africa Eco Race, there's one we could not ignore. Noel Essers, 75 years old, was at the wheel of truck number 401. The Belgian driver of this 10-ton monster would not have missed it for the world.
I
like coming here because I have already done other rallies, but I prefer to come here, to Africa. It's more interesting. These are people I have known for over 20 years. That's why I come to Africa. We start in Morocco, we go through Mauritania and finally to Senegal. That's what I find interesting here. The veteran Belgian charged home 7th in the GC and 2nd in the truck category. For so long she had no luck at all, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Elisabeth Jacinto hoped that this would be her year following 2 previous abandons. The Portuguese driver refused to give up and become discouraged, and it paid off. She is this year's winning truck driver. Never say you can't make it. If you do, you give up. It's so difficult to always be motivated and keep strong and keep working. And the good times always last longer than the bad times. For this reason, we must always keep trying to find the way forward. The final truck GC is as follows. For the first time in history of the race, a woman takes the win. Elisabeth Jacinto beats the ever-youthful Noel Essers into 2nd place. The Dutchman Elfrink is 3rd, followed by Van Velsen, Tomaszek and Igor Bowens. It is impossible not to get excited when these trucks roar into the desert. They were 10 at the start, 8 made it to Dakar. Let's have a look at their thrilling 6,000-kilometre journey. At the end of an adventure like this, we wanted to get the views of a man who is often in the shadows, Anthony Schlesser. His face lights up despite the tiredness when Jean-Louis Schlesser's eldest son describes the pride he feels in the family challenge. It's really great to see the big Africa Eco Race family. It really is a family, organisation and competitors. To see everyone back together, smiling and reunited at Lac Rose is a real accomplishment for us, every year and for this 11th edition. It's easy to see, the teams feel it and they let us know. We won't be changing the way we do things. There is a soul to this rally. It's the spirit of competition between us all, bikers, cars, trucks and mechanics. So it is a big family and we wouldn't change it for the world. And so the 11th edition of the Africa Eco Race draws to a close. Join us in January 2020 from the 5th to the 19th as the teams take on the 12th edition through the deserts of Africa. We'll leave you now with some of the best onboard and drone footage of the fortnight. See you next year. Bye-bye.